You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, comment, leave a comment for us, leave a review, something like that, right? Follow us, like us, share us, all of those fun things. And if you want to take the conversation beyond just what you're listening to here, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success, and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Today we have another successful contractor out of the Northeast. We don't get to talk to a lot of people out of the Northeast, right? It seems like all the contractors are down in Texas or Florida and things like that, right? But they do exist, and there's a lot of successful contractors up in the New England area. So today we have Jim DelPrete of Beantown Home Improvements. How you doing today, man?
Not too bad. Yourself, bud?
Good.
Awesome.
You're a third generation contractor, right?
Yeah. My whole family's full of builders. I've probably got 15, 20 aunts and uncles, and probably half of them are new construction builders. I'm the only one, and they all give me hell for it, that does remodeling, especially a lot of roofing, But yeah, third generation, man.
So it's been a family business.
Correct.
What made you follow the family path or follow the family trade versus, going off and doing something else?
Well, funny enough, I even actually tried to do that at one point. And, as a lot of old school parents, dad wanted me to go to college and do all that stuff. And I did. I went to college. I've got a science degree and whatnot, and got out and tried working in the hazardous materials business for a little while. And while it wasn't bad, I was still doing this stuff on the side, so to speak. And after a little bit, it just, if it's in your blood, it's in your blood. And it really did draw me back to the point where I eventually dumped everything else that I was doing, went back to working for family for a little bit, started working for a couple of guys that I went to high school with that had their own home improvement company for a little bit, and said, you know what, I need to be doing this on my own. There's so many things that I can do better that I would change, and I went on my own.
That is almost always like, this is the most common thing that I hear.
Gotcha.
In contractors that start their own company is, I saw things that I could do better.
Yeah, totally.
It's one of these things like, man, I'm working for this guy or these guys, and man, I don't like the way they're doing this, or I don't like the way they're doing that. What were those specific things for you?
Sure. So I think the last company is what really kind of set things apart. Working for a family wasn't too bad because we had a lot of similarities as far as what I believe things should be done and how things should be done, I should say. But the last company, the owner, there were a lot of things that needed to be fixed, like contractually. I noticed the company would get themselves in the trouble because their contract was not inclusive enough of as far as what should be done, what wasn't to be done, included, not included. Too many times where they had booked appointments and they weren't showing up to homeowners. Too many things were, unethical in the sense of maybe we should ask the homeowner to pull the permit because, they didn't have somebody else to pull the permit, or, insurances with certain guys, or even just, doing what you say and saying what you do. So there was actually quite a bit.
Yeah. The thing you said about contracts. So I did a lot of real estate, fix and flip properties back in some years ago, and I GC'd all my own projects, and we ended up getting into a dispute with one of the subs, and went to arbitration or mediation, one of the two on it, and the attorney that was running it, at the end of everything, he was like, "You know why they call them contractors, right?" and I said, why? And he said, because they work off of contracts. Make sure that you're getting good contracts written with everyone that you're dealing with. And I was like, oh man, that was amazing advice. Now that was, we're kind of business to business, right? That was my real estate investing business. So it's a little bit different when you're talking about the contract to the homeowner.
Yep.
That's also a way in what I think of as setting proper expectations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally.
Right. So how have you gone about creating the right contract and in that set the right expectations with the homeowners?
Sure. So when I went on my own and I went on my own in 2014, I sought out someone in the legal field that specifically handles home improvement contracts. And he actually does a lot of work for the state. So he took care of all that legality for me. And from that point, it's super simple in the sense of when you're dealing with homeowners, you do what you say what you do, and you follow through with it. This is one of those pieces where, for everybody out there listening, what we do is not rocket science. But if you're an honest person, you do what you say what you do, 99.9% of the time, you're not going to get yourself into trouble. Because if something happens and there's a mistake and you tell the homeowner about it and you level with everybody, people make mistakes, and most people get that, So when I'm meeting with a homeowner and, we're going through, geez, can you do this? Yes or no? Have you done this before? Yes or no? Okay, but could I still figure out how to do it? Of course. And then realistic expectations, hey, great, you want this job done in 3 weeks? No problem, we can do it. You want it done in 2 days? Guys, there's no way in hell that I can do that because I'm, 2 months out. If you're upfront with people, you almost can never go wrong. So I figure that when you do that from the start and then you continue that all the way through with your contracts, the likelihood of mistakes is far fewer.
Yeah, and the likelihood of happy customers is much higher.
Much higher, right? Absolutely.
Like when you set those proper expectations, when you're outlining it in a very meticulous way and being very honest and about timelines and materials and everything else, it's like, and people understand a lot more. Going through what the recent times and the supply chain issues and different things like that. In the roofing side, it's one thing. I'm sure if you're doing some of the remodel work, it's a whole nother thing. Like, some tile doesn't show up or carpet can't get to you or, different things. And, it's even more challenging when you're dealing with multiple trades like that.
Right.
But that's what we talked about, too, is that, now when you're dealing with that, right, you have a proper contract, right? You have proper expectations set with the homeowner. And you do what you say you're going to do, that leads to that good reputation, right?
Absolutely.
And that reputation is everything. I think that I have an opinion that too many business owners look short term.
Yep, absolutely. Because when you look at a lot of jobs that we do, I mean, I'd have to go back and double check, but I say at least 2/3 of my business is either repeat contracts or referrals. And, if you think about it, you spend all this time and all this money getting that one customer to come in. Now that you've got them, you want to, keep them, maintain them, and they will grow from there. And if they love what you've done, they'll continue to share that information with everybody else. And next thing you know, your customer base grows. Totally.
That's right. And it takes time, right? How was you got this business going in 2014? Let's talk about the journey a little bit, right?
Yeah. So I will say that timing wise, at least for me, was good. It wasn't like I was starting in a recession. Things were already on the up and up. I pulled money out of my 401k, started the business, and within, I think, 4 weeks, paid myself back and, was up and running. But at that point, aside from the little stuff that I had done in the past, I didn't have any kind of client base. I couldn't just jump on Angie's List and get going there because they require you to have so many reviews. And honestly, I started with Home Advisor. And I know some people like them, some people don't, but it was a pay per lead kind of thing. And that got me the first $180,000 that I put on the books in the first 3 months. And then from there, again, at that point, I was doing the office stuff. I was swinging the hammers. I had guys working for me, but I do 110 hours a week now. I was doing 110 hours a week then, and half of it was physical. But yeah, you start doing everything, and as you start to get better, everything grows. More people come on, your reputations grow, your contacts with vendors and everything grow. Was it difficult? You bet your ass it was, and I don't know how else to say it other than that. Nothing ever worth getting or having is easy, and but it's the first year I think it was the first 6 months I had just over 200,000 on the books. By year 3, it was $1.5 million, 2. So I've been in business this year. It'd be my 8 years. Last year, my target was $3.5 million, and we did 5.1. Right now, my target is $7 million, and we're on track to do 8.3. Yeah. Don't get me wrong; things are booming. Even more than normal. But at the same point in time, everything's it's kind of like when you get that ball that's rolling downhill. Things are finally starting to pick up speed. We're growing our brand, we're growing our reputation. More people are talking. We're getting involved with people like you, Jim, which helps to not only get our word out there, and we're not trying to sell, but we're giving information to homeowners, other contractors, things that you should look out for, things that as contractors we should do better. And it's not just about swinging a hammer. It's about getting known, working with the community and whatnot, and going from there.
That's right. And so what as you were building it up, you started with those pay per lead kind of systems. What kind of marketing did you do as you were going? Did you start with brand and trucks and signs in the yard and things like that? Were you doing anything else? So
started with Home Advisor. As soon as I could, I got on the Angie's List. That took a little bit of time. I initially had magnets for my truck. Just before that, of course, when I launched the business, I went on to it was 99 designs to come up with my logo and my brand. Got a website going. Got magnets for the truck. Definitely had yard signs. Right off the bat, I went out and got company shirts. To me, part of the business, image is part of it. I don't care who you are, but if you don't think image is part of your business, and whatever business that you're doing, you're selling yourself short. You've got to look professional. You've got to play the part. So, website. Didn't really start doing any online marketing aside from building up the Home Advisor page, getting onto Angie's List, and then from there with yard signs and everything else. Yeah.
What else have you tried? Have you done any TV, radio, stuff like that?
Yeah. So, of course, I'm still doing Google ads, which, I have enough of a technology knowledge to be dangerous. But I think even the people that are out there that know Google and how everything works, they're probably frustrated because it's constantly changing. So by the time you kind of figure out what's going on, they've raised the bar and changed it again. So Google ads we do. It is hard. Definitely over the past 3 to 4 years, I would say, the social media advertising, Facebook, Instagram, has really, really amped up. And I really think I've seen that change in the past 2 to 3 years. We continue to work with Angie's List. I don't do as much of the pay per lead, which was Home Advisor. I've done Angie's List for years. I've spent about 25, 26 grand with them over the past couple of years. I have scaled that back. If you don't know, and for anybody that's watching, Home Advisor has purchased Angie's List, which has changed their whole dynamic. And now Angie's List, which a lot of people liked in the future, is now operating like Home Advisor. And I'm actually hearing from homeowners they don't like how that's working. So I'm starting to tone back on that a little bit. I did try radio once before. I got 1 or 2 leads, and maybe it was the station that I tried. It didn't work for me. Yeah. I actually am right now. I just signed up with, I think it's called Effect TV. They're basically a subsidiary of Comcast, which is one of the major providers out here. to specifically do some advertising, not only on TV, but streaming, downloads for the
Yep.
next 6 months. I have seen this year, while business is booming, especially siding, siding's got to be 50% higher than what it was last year. I have noticed personally, at least here in my area, that roofing is at least 50% lower than it was last year. So I've got huge bandwidth for that. So we're going to get out there and we're going to push that. So there's a lot of different means of advertising. Oh, we also do trade shows.
Yep.
I do at
Nice.
least one a year that's right in my backyard. I've done a few in the past. And my suggestion for, again, any of you out there that are listening to this, where, you might be a hammer swinger, but you're not good on the marketing end, find a couple of trade shows, even if it's only one in your area. It's a great way to put you in front of people so they start to see your brand, they start to see who you are, they can start to ask questions. I do at least one a year. It costs me $3,000 to do the show, and I got to check my numbers, but I know for sure the revenue on that every year is north of $150,000. It's a no-brainer on the return for investment on that.
So like the local home and garden show.
Yep.
I talked with another contractor who, he'd done so well on those local home and garden shows that he's like, wow, there's a car show. Maybe I'll get a booth at a car show. Let me get a booth at
Absolutely.
And thinking about expanding into all of those. So home and garden shows. The thing about that too is, and this is one of the biggest things for me is, people buy from who they know, like, and trust, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So if you're especially, when it's you get to talk to people face to face at these shows. It's an amazing opportunity for them to get to know you, right? And you can, in those conversations, you can show your expertise and your knowledge and in all of that. Another thing that you guys do that I noticed is it is around community involvement, maybe philanthropy a little bit, right? Like the Operation Payback thing that you're doing. Can you explain some of that stuff that you guys do?
Sure. So we try to sponsor, teams. Like this year, for example, we sponsored the Middleborough Youth Softball League.
Yeah.
Part of business is giving back to the community you're in. So we've done that. We've supported restaurants in the pandemic when things really started getting bad and everybody had to stay home. We went out to local restaurants and we're buying $500 to $1,000 worth of gift cards. And we started putting them on our website, basically saying, or even the Facebook page, hey, if you're laid off, you need a little bit of a helping hand, or somebody that does, give us a shout. So we did that. As far as Operation Payback, this is something years ago that I always wanted to do, where we have the opportunity to give something back to our veterans. I'm not a veteran myself. People ask that all the time. That's the only regret that I actually do have in life. But I've always firmly believed that our veterans have done so much for us over the years, which allows us the affordability to go out and start our own business and have the freedom to do that. Sadly, I don't think the government really takes care of them. And even though I can only do one little piece of that, what we do is Operation Payback basically gives away a free roof to a veteran every year. And there have been a couple of years where I've done 2 or 3. And, the first couple of times you talk with the homeowner after they've registered, and they're wondering, is there a catch or anything like that? Of course, nothing's free in life, right?
Yeah.
But then when you show up at their door and we go over the details and, you fill out a contract because you still want to make everything legal. You fill out a contract. It's all zeros. And they're tickled pink. And then you come out and you do the work for them and they're outside, buying pizzas for us because now there's, they want to return the favor. And I don't do it for any other reason than it makes me feel good. Does it help with business and everything else? Yeah, of course. It gets a reputation out there. I don't do it for that. I do it for me.
Yeah. And that's I feel like people can see that, right? Like they can feel it, right? Like you can feel when it's like, oh, I see why that guy's, doing this, right? You can feel it. But when you're actually doing it from your place, right? For things that you want to be involved in, it becomes marketing a little bit.
It does.
By proxy, but but if you do it because, right, sponsoring the Little League, right? Yeah, you get your your sign on the field or whatever it is, right? Awesome. But you also get to, you're being part of that. Part of that experience for the children in your local community, right? It's so
Absolutely.
cool.
And we've done turkey drives during Thanksgiving. We've gone to VA hospitals to see guys and just say hello and shake their hands. I worked with a company where they were giving them, clothing and whatnot. It's just that, especially today's day and age where everything's kind of going down the toilet. You want to do something to show kindness,
Yeah. What has that done? How many employees do you have now?
Oh boy, let's see. I've probably got 8 employees that are my core people. Yep. And I probably have another 25 plus that are subs.
Yep. How has your personality in wanting to give back to the community and to go out on to go visit the veterans or do these things, how has that impacted your company culture?
It's funny that there's a lot of people that really do want to give, but they don't have the means to do so. And, I used to do the same, back in the days. I'd want to do this or I'd want to do that. But, when you're trying to make ends meet, you can't always do that. I've got the affordability to do so. So I think it makes a lot of people here feel like they too are contributing because they're part of the team, and my operations manager, Eli, he's a Marine, and when he saw that stuff, when he's out talking to homeowners, he's like, even as a Marine, it's like, you wouldn't know Jim isn't a military guy because the way he acts, it's almost like these are his brothers and sisters anyway. So it's not just me lifting myself and the company up. We all do it together and everybody enjoys the ride together,
Yep, for sure. And I think it's always fun to work for a company that is involved in things and has a meaning or a purpose beyond just profit, right? Like absolutely. There's, if the people that work in a company feel like if they start seeing that the owner is very profit driven, a lot of times there becomes some resentment there. Yeah. Right.
Yep. No, absolutely. Yep. So many companies are too focused on money. And while everybody has to have, money to make their ends meet too, everybody wants to be appreciated and respected. And there's a lot more to it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Who was your first hire?
Well, my other half, if you really want to call her my first hire. Yeah. Technically she was, because when I started, I was 100% doing it on my own. And she was working in the medical field. And I get to that point where it's probably 6 months in and I was saying, babe, do you think you could maybe come work for me part-time? I think I could give you 30 hours a week. She's never seen 30 hours a week. I don't think she's ever seen less than 50 hours a week, and then after that, I had subs, but then again, I wouldn't really call them my first hire.
Yeah.
I think my first hire was a kid by the name of Dan, and he was just out there to help me run my roofing jobs. Basically, I wanted an on-site foreman watching the crews, basically a glorified babysitter, to make sure that they're doing everything like they're supposed to, being the interaction with the homeowner, making sure, we did the walkarounds, the whole process went smooth, we didn't damage anything and so on. Yeah. That was probably, 2015, 2016.
Yep. So that allowed you, I would assume at that time, you're like, hey, this takes some time off of my plate. Quality control, and I get to go and maybe sell the next job. I get to run that appointment and things like that, right? So when, at what point, how many years in or at what revenue level did you start to add sales reps to the business?
So funny enough, believe it or not, I hired Eli, who was a customer of mine from probably 6 or 7 years ago, and I think I hired him 5 years ago. Eli basically took over Dan's position, and I was selling, and then after that, Eli was also selling. So
Okay.
he was not just running the roof portion, but I said, you know what? You're the roofing expert now as well. So he was also running the roofing leads. And I was doing the rest of the stuff. I have been very, very, very hesitant about hiring a salesman. First
Okay.
of all, I hate salesmen. Salesmen suck. Homeowners think salesmen suck. And I'm being blunt with you here.
Yeah.
And I told Eli that if we are to sell, we are to do it my way. And just recently, meaning 3 weeks ago, I finally brought on my newest project specialist. No, this is not an in-home sales consultant.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's just got to the point where even I can't sell this much and Eli can't sell this much. So Eli come on and probably started selling when I was probably in the mid 2 million range.
Okay.
And we carried it through last year. I think at 5 million, the two of us are ready to kill each other. And most of this I shaved, but there's probably some I lost. And just this year, it's like, yeah, I can't keep doing this. I got to get another guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
figure
Yeah.
2 million, 4 million, 5 million, and now again at like 7 and change.
Yeah, that's a lot of appointments to run, and a lot of client communication, and a lot of that.
It is.
How have you managed that? Did you have someone? Did you add people internally that help you with that client communication and the scheduling, and letting them know when the job is going to be done, and all of those types of things? How have you managed that? Because to run the business, to do all of the things you do, and to sell, upwards of $3 million, well, that's a lot of hats.
It is. And some of the people watching this that may be smaller companies than myself or bigger companies than myself are saying, oh my God, this guy's nuts. I would have hired 3 salespeople beforehand. And obviously everybody has different points at which, you're going to bust at the seams. I love what I do. Yeah. And I work 110 hours a week, and some people are like, dude, you're the owner. You shouldn't be doing that. But I like what I do. Yeah. And I can juggle a lot. And for even the people that know me, I can juggle probably more than what 2 people can, which has afforded me that capability. It's still to the point where it's tough. Yes, I've got Janice in the office. We have another girl in the office. So they're doing all the appointments. They're doing all the scheduling. They're doing all the warranty registrations and stuff like that. But as far as us dealing with the customers and the leads, that's on us. And that is a very big sticking point for me. Communication is huge. Probably only second. No, I don't even know if that's second to quality. I think communication is probably number 1 and quality is number 2. Because if you can't be honest and work on that relationship, then really, in my opinion, nothing else matters,
Yeah.
But having the office girls, it helps a lot. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's, I always find it there's only so much capacity, right? As you grow your business, you can still work the same amount of hours, but you can be working on different things sometimes, yes. Right? You have to take those certain things off your plate to work on more high-level things or additional things. And to speak to that, people think you're crazy for still working that much. Oh, the owner shouldn't work that much. Hey, like if you enjoy what you do, what's that saying? Find what you love, and you never work a day in your life, kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. There's something to that, right? There's. I was watching a podcast recently. It was a guy that owns like $100 million company, and he sold part of it, and he took a year off, and he was like, man, I can't even spend this money, like, and so he like had to go back to work, like not for money, for his sanity, like because he enjoyed it. So he, they were talking about work-life balance, and it's like, well, I enjoy what I do. Like, I work on my birthday. My mom drives me nuts. My mom is like, what are you doing? Let's go have a party and do all this stuff. What are you going to do on your birthday? Let's have you over for dinner and all these things. And he's like, I just want to go to work.
Yeah. Because there definitely is a fine line for some people finding that happy medium. And that is the biggest piece. Yeah. While I love what I do, when you're burning the candle at both ends, You can't do that forever. So you definitely have to enjoy what you do, but start to pass off some of the workload when you
That's
can,
right.
so you continue to enjoy what you do.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, pass off the things that you don't enjoy or the things that you're not as good at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And I'll agree. Some people have difficulty delegating, whatever it might be. If you're a
Yes.
control freak or something, this new guy that I brought in, Dan, that's going to be a project specialist. He's going to basically take my whole workload for sales.
Yeah.
And there are certainly still going to be times where I'm going to want to go out or need to go out. But there's still, as the company is getting bigger, other things that I need to do to run the company, to
Yes.
get costs down, to bring in more business and so on.
Yeah.
Things change as we grow.
So we talk, and I know this has been a challenging thing for you now hearing it out loud again, passing on the sales role, because you are really adamant about not selling in the traditional sense of selling, and being extremely consultative, right? Yep. And you don't traditionally ask for the sale on the initial visit. A lot of times you're leaving the house, but your guys are closing at a 49% close rate.
So my close rate, and I just checked before the meeting, my close rate right now is 55%, and Eli's is 51. And Eli was a financial desk jockey when I hired him, which was great because I didn't have to break his bad habits. I taught him my way, and within the first year, his sales close rate was mid 30% range, which for most salesmen, if you're in the mid 30s, you're doing really, really well.
You're solid. Yeah, that's solid.
And I've actually been to some sales outings and talked to guys where, what's your close rate? 52%. Yeah, no, it's not. And they walk away. Okay, whatever. You believe what you want. I know what my numbers are. I don't need anybody else to tell me yes or no.
Yeah.
Everybody has their way. And whatever your way is that you're comfortable and you can stand behind it, do it. And if it works for you, then who cares what anybody else says? For me personally, I don't like to be sold. I don't want to go in and have somebody trying to sell me a car, or somebody come to my house and sit down and interrogate me for 3 hours like they're trying to sell me a damn timeshare. Because at that point, my eyes have glassed over and I have no interest in whatever it is you're selling. And I think especially, at least out here in Massachusetts, there's plenty of big companies that come out and do the 3 to 4 hour sale, hard close kind of deal. And homeowners are used to that. So when you come in, one of the first things I say is, hey guys, I'm the owner. Nice to meet you. That in and of itself, if you're the owner and you like going out, that carries a lot of weight when the owner is coming out to talk to somebody too. But it's like, listen, I'm not going to give you a sales pitch. So if that's what you're thinking, you can relax, you can take it easy. I just want to know what's going on. So it's like, hey, I look at my phone, calendar says we're coming out here for vinyl siding and a roof. So what are we doing? What do you want to do? And we just start off walking through it. And I'm very consultative in the sense of how I go through things, and homeowners like, geez, these other guys come out here and they've looked at everything and, oh, you need a new roof. You got to do this. You got to do that. And it's like, guys, how old's your roof? Oh, it's probably 20 years old. Yeah. From my perspective, after I do my inspection, you probably have a good 5 years, or more left on it. And that carries a lot of weight when you're talking to anybody in life. And they're like, well, geez, this mechanic says, I need 4 new tires. But I know I put two new tires on like 4 months ago. Yeah. If you're honest with people, they know and they can feel it. And it's like, well, maybe you should redo, your chimney because the flashing looks bad or what have you. All of a sudden, the amount of respect and trust and your ability to build rapport with that person is incrementally increasing. And I have had homeowners that have come back 3 to 5 to 6 years later. Jim, I saw you 5 years ago. You said my roof had 5 years left. I think we're at that time. And to me, it works. And like I said, my close rate proves it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how are you planning on implementing that, or how have you implemented it with the salesperson that you have? How have you taught them to do the same thing? Because the way that I like I like to think about it in frameworks, right? There
Yep.
still has to be a framework to what you're doing. So the first thing that you're doing is you're identifying the needs of the customer, what they feel their needs are and problems are.
Yep.
And then you are, you're figuring out the solutions to those problems,
Yep.
right? And and giving them the options of what you think the best solutions would be. Like you're saying, hey, maybe you don't need to replace your roof right now. You may have a few years left on it,
Sure.
but you definitely need to do this over here, and you might want to try this, add this in over here because of this reason. So you're bringing all of that to them.
Yep.
So, are you presenting that in a framework to your new guys, or at least to the new guy? How are you going to transfer that? How do you plan to do that?
So I brought Dan in 3 weeks ago, and he's been in the industry probably 20 some odd years. Was from Massachusetts. Was actually working out in Washington State. I think he was out there for 5 years, working for a few other companies out there, and so he's seen kind of both sides. Now that he's with me, I told him when he said, well, let me take a step back. When I put the ad out, it was out on Facebook, it was out on Indeed and a few other places. My posting was very, very blunt, first of all. This is what I'm looking for. This is how I sell. If this doesn't work for you, you don't like it, you're the high pressure guy, don't even bother applying because I don't want to talk to you. And Dan was actually looking for work, but not looking for sales because he didn't like how they used to sell out west. And he's like, dude, I read what you said. And I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. I'm not a pushy guy. I just want to sit down and honestly talk to people. And right now, I told him when he started, I said, you're going to ride with me for the first month to 2 months. And you're just going to listen as far as how I interact with homeowners. And it's, just think of it this way. It is a conversation between you and a good friend of yours. We'd be like, dude, you don't need a roof for the next 5 years. Come on, you can go on another vacation, save your money, whatever. But hey, look at your windows over there. Your window sills are rotten. You know that the water's leaking and getting in the walls. Dude, you got to fix that. Those kind of conversations. And I've already started to have him interact with the homeowner a little bit. And once we finish, we get back in the truck. He's like, all right, how was that? I'm like, oh, we could fix this. We could fix that, get rid of the fluff, get to the point. I am very much I guess you could say a data guy, but I'm not about fluff. I'm not about sales. I'm going to tell you what you need. I'm going to tell you why I think you should do it and the best way to do it. All the extra fluff crap that a lot of guys put in, get rid of it. That's the stuff that makes you come off as salesy. You can tell a homeowner, I think you should do this. You absolutely need to do that. And I think with Dan understanding what I want to do and knowing some of the ways the other companies have sold, I have to untrain him a little bit, but it's not a lot, And after every single call, it's like, okay, you should have said this, you shouldn't have said that. And we'll get to a certain point where it's like, all right, bud, you're comfortable. We'll go out and we'll still run the next month's leads together. But at that point, I'm just sitting in the truck going with him, just listening and making sure he's still saying all the key points. And then I'll just send him off on his own.
Yeah. And one of the things that you said is you don't close on the initial visit.
Nope.
Do you ask for the business?
Nope. I know and I've been through a lot of sales classes where people do. I will ask if I feel it's right. And what I mean by that, and the biggest thing that I could say to anyone that has a salesman, and a good salesman doesn't talk that much, in my opinion. A good salesman listens.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're out there to pitch, then you're not listening to what the homeowner wants or needs. So if you're listening, the homeowner's telling you, I need a roof, we're having a leak, and I only want a metal roof. And you get out there and the guy's like, I only want a metal roof. And you keep pitching asphalt. You're not going to go anywhere. You're going to just tick this guy off. If anything, you might ask the question, why metal? Why just metal? Get that right off the bat and find out. Maybe he might have an interest in asphalt, but somebody else, was trying to steer him away from it. Or you find out that, he truly wants a metal roof and I don't do it. Jim, I'm sorry, man, I'm not your guy. You should probably go see one of my competitors, so-and-so, So a good salesman's always listening. And when a homeowner is going through and we're sitting down, and the other day I actually was sitting, I closed somebody the first time when Dan was with me, And we went through the details, and I'm always watching, keeping an eye on what's going on. And I'm talking to the husband. I said a few things to him. I looked down and I see out of the corner of his eye, he looked over at his wife and he glanced and he kind of nodded. So she said a few things and I'm like, okay, guys. So, and Dan was still in the process of filling out our proposal. We had not even given it to him yet. I'm like, kind of getting the vibe. I think I just saw a nod. Do you guys want to put a contract together right now? Yep, let's do it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad to ask for your business, but there's a time for it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when a homeowner happens to say, something about like, geez, I don't know if it's going to be in my budget. Homeowner mentions price. That was your chance to say, well, what is your budget then?
Right.
So when the opportunity is there and they open the door, it's up to us to walk through it. And if you didn't, then you missed that opportunity. So I could have given them the proposal and walked away, but instead I said, geez, do I sense a feeling like you guys want to put this together now? Yeah, let's do it. Okay.
Yeah. And that is done through listening.
Absolutely.
Right? And not just specifically listening, but you were watching their body language and, the way that things were moving in that direction. Well, yeah, let's get this started. There is definitely a time. Now you're marketed, you have your sales process in place. What do you do during, on the roofing side specifically, because for the podcast, but what do you do on production day or through the production process to create a raving fan, to create that customer experience?
So after the contract and everything is all put together, we get out there day one. So as soon as we show up, we're going to show up before the crew. I always want my guys to be there before the crew is. This way here, if the homeowner's out, we can see them in the morning. We do put a yard sign out on the lawn that has our information. And we're going to walk around with the homeowner and do a couple of things. First, we're going to go through the details of the contract to make sure nothing has changed. You still want, Owens Corning Onyx Black. You still want us to do this, to install a roof vent for your bathroom fan. So we go over those details just to be sure we're on the same page.
Yep.
The second piece is we're always going to go through to make sure that the materials delivered are what we ordered. If anybody's been doing this long enough, you've had the wrong color delivered, the wrong brand delivered, the wrong drip edge delivered, and then you're trying to figure out, all right, what do we do to fix it? The other piece we always do, I started doing this probably 4 or 5 years ago, do a pre-construction checklist. A lot of homeowners, because we're creatures of habit, they have the car in the garage, they leave and go to work every day and come home every day, and they don't take a walk around the house to find out, well, geez, a bird flew into the basement window and cracked that. And it's been sitting there for 3 years and they had no idea about it. So we all learn from experience. I've learned from doing jobs where you walk around afterwards and the homeowner says, hey, look, that basement window wasn't cracked. You guys must have did it. Now, I always take photos beforehand and might have been able to show them a timestamp like, yes, it was. But the pre-construction checklist gives you the opportunity to walk around with the homeowner to see what the condition of the gutters are. Do you have a couple of damaged screens? Is the bird bath toppled over and broken? We go over it. We make all those notes. It is a carbon copy, so we sign off on it. The homeowner signs off on it. At the end of the job, we go around again and we do a walkthrough, and the homeowner's like, oh, geez, well, that was broken. And you pull up that sheet of paper and you look through, hey, here it was. We walk through, yeah, you're right, I forgot about it. And if there's something that's not on the list, hopefully you didn't miss something, but at that point, now you're liable for it. Because
you're liable for it. Yeah. It's like, it reminds me of, when you go and rent a car. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You walk around, you note everything that, hey, there's a ding there, there's a ding there, there's a, and just making sure that, but then once you fill out that card and you leave that lot, anything that you missed is your responsibility.
It protects both parties. It really does. Yep. So, and the other piece is, when we're doing roofing or anything, tonnage is coming off of a house, just sheer tonnage. We've broken bushes, we've broken plants, we've broken lights. We've never had anything bad, but it happens. And when it does, it should be you that notices it first before the homeowner notices it and comes to you. It's a matter of, Hey, Jim, the stuff was coming off. Maybe when the tarp was coming down for whatever reason, it got caught on the light on the front door and it caught it and it pulled it off. Hey, Jim, just want to let you know this is what happened. We can figure out how you want to work through to fix it. Some homeowners have been like, Jim, that was a Home Depot light for $35. No big deal. Listen, if it was $35, we'll take $50 off your final bill. Do you want me to put it up? No, we'll go get it ourselves. Okay. Or we've had an instance where it's like, geez, those 2 lights we bought online, they don't make them anymore. We're going to have to make them both match. You know what? It is what it is. Okay. We'll go out, we'll buy the lights. It's up to us to make it right. And again, if you stand behind your work and you realize shit happens, plain and simple.
Yeah.
I've never walked away from an incident like that where a homeowner has said, like, these guys were horrible. Stuff happens. You make good for it.
Yeah, it's construction, man.
Absolutely.
And then now in doing that, I mean, what it's led to a lot of, and maybe you could speak to your process on this a little bit, but you have 121 reviews on Home Advisor. You got a bunch of reviews, I'm sure, on Angie's List. You got another 162 reviews on Google.
Yep.
Do you have a specific process for asking for those reviews, or do you just leave it up to the homeowner?
So that's one thing that I'm working on to try to make things better. Part of which would like a CRM or something like that would automatically send those things out. So we're not there yet in that sense. But one thing we do at the end of the job, once we finish, we're going to say, Jim, how was the process? Scale of 1 to 10. Would you give us a 1 being horrible? Would you give us a 10 being stellar? And if he says, yeah, you guys were awesome, we'll give you a 10, or, I'll give you a 9. Well, okay, well, why are we a 9? And we try to figure out what could we do better, or is that homeowner's 9 a 10? He just never gives anybody a 10.
Yeah.
And then from there, what we do is we ask, awesome. So, okay, you're happy. Would you mind being a reference for us? And if he says yes, we put him on the reference list, because every time I go out as part of my proposal, I give them a reference list that is typically within the last 6 months of jobs. So when a homeowner wants to call them, it's not somebody that we did 10 years ago, And if they say yes, we put them on the reference list. And then they say, hey, if I shoot you an email with links for Google and Angie's List and Facebook, would you mind, writing us a quick 2-minute, review and putting it online? Yeah, no problem. So we do ask that. Sometimes homeowners don't follow through as much as we would like, and I might have to ask a couple of times. And I think in some ways it would be easier if we had a CRM or an automated way where it automatically sent a link right to their cell phone, where all they had to do is click on it and they could do it from their phone. So that's how I expect in the future we will ask for it.
Yep. There's a simple way to do that for everyone listening. If you go to your Google Business profile, there's a link in there that directs people there. So you could copy that link and just kind of save it in your phone somewhere.
Yep.
And then copy and paste it and shoot it off to someone. That's a very simple way to do it. Of course, there are very more complex softwares out there that do a lot more and send emails and text messages and things like that. We have one of those in our services that we provide, and there's a lot of them out there. But to me, you got to get that feeling with the homeowner if they're satisfied or not.
Absolutely.
And ask, right? Hey, you willing to leave us this review? Are you willing to do that? So now through there, you talked about a lot of your business is repeat and referral, right? Yep. So to me, that you're maximizing the long-term value of a customer, right? And so, I mean, that is an important part of a business over time, right? Is the long-term value. And I think that is very much overlooked. Do you do any type of communication or touch points post job that potentially lead to future jobs?
I have. I don't do it often just because I don't have as much time. Like I've done it through, a few email campaigns where you might follow up quarterly, sometimes to send additional, not salesy stuff, but sometimes it's just checking in. Hey, it's been, 4 months. Hopefully your roof is still good and whatnot. In other cases, it's just touch points of like, hey, winter's coming. Here's a good way to prep your house, get your gutters clean, things like that kind of stuff. It does get traction. And same thing on the marketing pieces. Every now and again, we'd shoot out something like, it's marketing and sales. It's not intended to push people, but it's like every time I know, ABC Supply, one of my suppliers, our next roofing increase or siding increase is coming out August 1st. If we've sent you a contract, this is the time to get your contract in place, because after that, we're going to have to update it. We'll get some traction on that too.
Yep. Nice. What do you think, excuse me. What do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience that has helped you find success in your business?
For me, it has nothing to do with business, and it has nothing to do with sales. It has everything to do with just being a good human being. You're just upfront. You're honest with people. If you're running late to an appointment, you call them and say, hey, look, I'm in traffic. I'm going to be 10 minutes late. Everybody's time is important. When you leave, if you tell the homeowner, look, for whatever reason, you couldn't give them the price right then and there, I'm going to get you the price. Just give me 3 or 4 days. Well, 3 or 4 days, you follow through. And if for some reason you can't, you call up, say, Jim, I'm sorry, I got slammed, whatever. Kids were sick or something. I need another couple of days. If you can communicate well with people, that translates into everything from business to life with your spouse and friends and everything else. So the most important piece, I would say, is just have outstanding communication where you do what you say what you do, and you stand behind your work. That's the most important piece, I would say.
Awesome. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.